Welcome back, guys. Harry here, known as Tradesharpe, and this is a video you've all been waiting for. For the people who do know and who watch the stream, in this video I'm going to cover the legendary Thunderstorm setup. Now for the people who don't watch the stream, it's going to be a win-win situation for you guys as well, because I'm going to talk about a setup that greatly impacted my trading and has really brought on consistency, and it's one that I always use on stream and is a very popular setup because it gives me extra confirmation and allows me not to miss the moves. So both of you guys are going to win, and yeah, basically we're going to talk about the legendary Thunderstorm setup, how to execute on it, what it is most importantly, and why I like to use it. All it is a little bit of more of an advancement on my top 3 price action setups. So if you haven't watched that video, be sure to check that video out. It's going to be popped up here, and I'll pop up a card, so check out that, because then it won't make sense for this video. So with that being said, let's not waste any more time and let's get to the charts, and let me explain to you the Thunderstorm setup and show you some real life examples. So let's get there. Alright, so the Thunderstorm setup here, this is the Thunderstorm setup, or this is a really crazy setup. I'm going to draw it out here. It's very simple. So first, what you need to understand is setup number 1. So setup number 1, you can find that in the free price action PDF, right? That PDF is free, so let's go have a look at that. So you can find this setup in the price action entries, right? So first of all, must follow trend. You must understand session bias. Session bias simply refers to what direction do you expect the session to go, right? So if we record back to a random place here, let's say this area here, and we look at the daily candle, if previous daily is closing bullish, previous 4 hours closing bullish, we can expect the session to continue bullish, right? That's the basics of session bias, and I do have a full video on that, but you must be following the trend. Trend is obviously bullish here. That's step number 1, and understanding the session bias will tell you what you should be looking for in your session buys or sells, right? The next step here is going to be, you must trade during volume time. So you must be trading around London Open, 1 hour pre, 1 hour post, and then before basically NY Open, which is going to be 1 hour pre NY, NYSE, etc. And it works on all time frames, but the best time frames to take this for me personally is the 15. If you like a little bit slower, more time, the 30 is good. The 1 hour is definitely a lot more slower, but I prefer, for me, is the 15-minute candle. The second important part to this puzzle, just going to move this up here, is going to be finding an LTA. You need to have clean candles in the zone you're going to be trading. So most of you guys are like, this guy doesn't make any sense. He's talking about session bias, he's talking about LTAs. These are all videos that I have made for you guys, so you need to understand this. LTA simply refers to clean candles. If you don't have these type of zones, then all of this is not going to work, and then I'm going to see you guys in the comments saying, oh, your strategy doesn't work. Well, in reality, you're not putting the pieces of the puzzle together, right? So once you have all of that down, to look for the actual trade is very simple here. All you're going to look for is some form of range to form here. Once the range forms, then what you're going to look for is, you're going to look for a range, could be even as small as this, or it could be even one candle. But essentially what you're going to look for is, you're going to look for price to close above that range. When price closes above the range on the 15, 30 or 1 hour, you're going to let the next candle break the high, and that's setup number 1. So the Thunderstorm is a small modification for this, because the next candle can make a bottom wick here, and has to make a bottom wick for us to have confidence in taking the trade. But what we need to see is, we want to use the 5-minute time frame to get even a better entry, so we hold 0 drawdown or very minimal drawdown. The goal of using the Thunderstorm is so that we hold minimum drawdown, right? Because ideally this could make a bottom wick wherever it wants to go. This bottom wick could last here, could even come as deep as here until it hits your stops, right? So in reality, if we use the 5-minute time frame, we can avoid some of this drawdown, and on top of getting avoiding drawdown, we will also get more accurate entry and more confirmation to our entry. So what we're gonna do is, we're gonna look for setup 1. So let's draw it. Let's remove this line here, and let's just draw a simple scenario of a setup number 1. So you guys should understand how to find that type of setup. So we're gonna have candles closing bearish here, right, which creates a resistance, and then we're gonna have candles closing bullish, something like this, towards the top of the range. Next candle here is also gonna close bearish, creating a resistance. Then this candle tries to close above the range, but it fails, leaves a wick like this, and then the next one closes bearish because it failed, right? Like that, boom. And then we get price closing above. Well, this is a messy scenario, but this is something we can use, something like that, boom, right? So this is zoomed in, obviously. It's 15-minute time frame. Here's your resistance, here's your support. This candle's closing above resistance, but now what you're going to do here is you're going to go scale down to the 5-minute time frame. So imagine this is the 5-minute time frame in here, right? So this is the 5-minute, and what you're going to do here, right, so just to make it clear, is 5-minute. All right, so this is the 5-minute here, and what you're going to do on the 5-minute is you're going to wait for the next candle to open, right? And the 5-minute has to look something like this. You're obviously going to have maybe 2 5-minute candles closing bullish to create that 15-minute candle closing bullish. So it will look something like this: 1, 2, right, with the wick. And then what you're going to do is you're going to let the new candle open and make a bottom wick. So if there's a lot of volume, a bottom wick and flip is enough, but sometimes we want that extra confirmation based on the zone. You have to join streams, because this trade you can just take breaking the high. Just take the setup number 1 as a basic. This is when you get more advanced to have really accurate entries. You see us take it on stream, and this is just something, that I don't really want to share to everyone, but since everyone's asking, I'm like, okay, I'll let people know what exactly it is. But it's very hard, and I can't explain in a 10-minute video when exactly you guys need to use it all the time. There's certain scenarios where I do want to wait for it, and there's certain scenarios where I don't always want to wait for it, right? Because sometimes if you wait for this, you're going to miss the move, and that's a big problem. But sometimes you need to wait for this type of thing to give you extra confirmation. This is something I do more with people who work directly or who are part of the group, where I can explain more about this in depth, because I have more time and it basically is easier for me to do that. So that is why I do it in there. So what we need next is we need, okay, the candle to make a bottom wick. So the candle opens up. This is the new 15-minute candle, right? This is the new 15-minute candle making its bottom wick like that. That's how it will look. So what we need is we need the candle to close like this. So we need for it to make a bottom wick. Once it makes its bottom wick like this, the body is actually going to end up closing bearish, right? And that's key. The key is let me draw that nicer. The key is the body closing bearish here. So we have a bearish closed body. We have a wick that came to the downside like this, and this wick could come all the way down here. Doesn't matter. Wherever the wick comes to, once the bearish body closes, what we need is like a setup number 3, right? What we need is, but this is on the 5-minute. We need the next candle to make a bottom wick, flip, and break the high. Boom. When this breaks the high and leaves its bottom wick like this, that's your entry signal, which will be equivalent of breaking this high. But essentially now what the 5-minute has told you in this zone, and on the 15-minute it will just look something like this, boom, and continue towards the upside. That's how it will look on the 15. Your entry will be here, stop loss below here, and you're continuing up. But how this will end up looking on the lower time frame on the 5-minute will be this bearish candle. Now this bearish candle here gives you a lot of information. So let me just change the color. This bearish candle gives you tons of information. Why? Because what it's done is these candles have closed above the range, right? That's in here, right? That's what's happened here. Now we need to say, okay, does price respect? So this is kind of like a retest here, and does it end up rejecting? So if this candle just ends up closing bearish back inside the range, then this trade is going to be a failure, and people say, oh, price action doesn't work. Closing above ranges normally ends up in fake outs. That's because they're not patient enough to wait for the break of the high, and they don't understand this going on. So the fake out's going to happen when it doesn't break the high, and it just ends up falling down back inside the range, right? So that's the first scenario where we see that happen, okay? But when we get this type of candle here, what it's telling you is it's giving you a lot of information. If we read this candle, it tells you price retested, it's rejected it, closed slightly bearish. So this is a nice pause. We like when the market pauses, because this essentially just grabbed liquidity. Your entry is the same. This came down, grabbed liquidity, and it's paused, giving you a slight pause. So you imagine all of that energy is building up, and it's rejected. And this is a slingshot pulling down, and boom, you get the move once we break the high, right? And that's what we like to see, and that is a classic thunderstorm. So the reason why we call it the thunderstorm is the day that someone mentioned that type of setup on stream, or the first time they saw it, shout out to Crest. He when basically we saw that setup, there was a massive thunderstorm crackle that came from outside, and it's very rare to get thunderstorms in Dubai. So that's why we named this setup the Thunderstorm, because it happened and we heard a crackle from a thunderstorm. So now it's ever named the Thunderstorm. But essentially all this is setup 1 with a 5-minute setup 3. For people who have been part of the program and people who work with me directly, then they know basically what setup 1 is in depth, they know what setup 3 is in depth, and all the differences is you're taking setup 1 but adding setup 3 on the lower time frame. So for them, it's going to be super easy to understand that, and for you guys, you have it in front of you here to understand. Alright, so just before we cap up the video, I want to show you a real life example. This is a perfect example here. We have the range, price closed above the range. That's that bottom wick I'm talking about. When you go to the 5-minute, it's the thunderstorm, right? So what do we need to enter the thunderstorm? We need the next candle to break the high. Boom, next candle breaks the high here. That's your entry signal. Stop loss is not going to be on the 5-minute. This trade is based on the 15. Stop loss below the 15-minute here. Target, let's say we just target here, for example. And then you should be off to the races here. And there you go. First push here. Second push. Price decides to come back to your entry but rejects it very quickly. That's why it's nice to have that, right? Because it's a rejection point, and then creates support, and we should be off to the races and TP smashed, right? Beautiful, clean, and we love it. So yeah, that is a real life example. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and as always guys, leave a like, leave a comment, leave all the support, and let me know if you enjoyed it. With that being said, take care, trade sharp, and hopefully catch you guys very, very soon. Peace.